book release celebration of creating augmented and virtual realities. I'm so delighted, I'm Tony Parisi from Unity. I'm so delighted to be here and to have Unity hosting all these amazing authors who contributed to this book. Later on, you'll be able to purchase a book here, a signed book by many of the authors. And so let's get started without further ado. Let's go over our agenda. First, make sure you follow us on Twitter if you haven't already. Tag us, take lots of photos, we love that. We're joined tonight by some wonderful co-authors of mine. Let's go back. O'Reilly co-authors. I've actually written 3 O'Reilly books myself, so I know what it takes. This was a mammoth effort. Erin's going to sort of take you through what all that entailed in a little bit here. But we have folks from Unity who contributed to this book, 3 great minds from Unity Labs. We have Erin and Steve, the co-authors and co-editors. And we have a special guest star, Silva Niesnix from Adobe. So this is going to be a great program. Yeah, here we go. A couple opening remarks by me, and I'm going to turn it over to Erin. And then we're going to have individual presentations. So we're going to bring some chairs up and do a quick little panel and Q&A. And we're going to encourage questions from you folks from the Twitterverse as well. So let's get going. VR, AR, MR, XR, AI, ML, CV, AR Cloud. This isn't just a grab bag of trendy tech terms. These are the technologies we're going to be using for the foundation of spatial computing, which is the foundation of the future of interface. Interface is moving from 2D representations rendered on flat screens, these little pinhole cameras, into this vast universe of digital information, to 3D representations of objects and spaces laid all around us. Some people will call this spatial computing. Some people will call it the metaverse. Some people will call it VR, AR, MR. This fellow, Kevin Kelly, called it the mirror world. That is a complete digital twin of the world around us with information overlaid on it. The tech we have today, these crude AR and MR headsets, and these AR-capable smartphones are just the beginning. These are going to get supplanted by smart glasses, cool wearables. Maybe someday they're going to be contact lenses, direct neural interfaces, holographic projections. It's all on a spectrum of immersive computing. And this is going to be the way we work, play, communicate, learn, share information with each other. So as we go through this transformation to the mirror world, these technologies are going to change over and over again. But the tech and techniques that are talked about in this book are foundational, and they're not going to change too much. What may change are the names. At some point, we may get past this vexing distinction of which acronyms we're going to use. Maybe we'll call it mirror world someday. But what's most important is, at some point in time, it's all going to be built into an operating system of the future. It's all going to be within our grasp, basically with a gesture and an intent. You know, today, what is it all about? It's about purpose-built apps. It's about app stores curated with content, and it's very frictional. There's a lot of friction that happens in there. When you build to this today, you are using SDKs, and it's very code-heavy. The mirror world of the future is going to be content creation. Literally, you make 3D stuff, you throw it somewhere in the world, you tag it. If someone has the right permissions, they can access it, they can share it, and they can annotate it. And that mirror world will be very fluid someday. We're not there yet. But again, everything we're talking about tonight in this book is going to play a part in that, whether it's artificial intelligence, the design that we're going to be hearing about today for new kinds of interfaces that use the real world at its foundation, or just amazing 3D graphics that power it all. So excited to have you here. I got to tell you, there's a lot that goes into a book, and this book was a mammoth effort with how many authors, Erin? 18 authors. So to tell you about this now, I want to bring up Erin. She's going to tell you the story of how this book came to be and kick the program off for real. All right, let's go. Congratulations. What an amazing effort.
Mic check. Oh, folks can hear me. All right. I like mics more than other types of mics. So first off, thank you so much to Unity. I'm indebted to Tony Parisi, who's a virtual reality legend, 3-time O'Reilly Media author. First to him, to Timony West, who conceptualized this event when I asked her to be a part of this book, and is the head of research here at Unity. Thank you, Timony. I also want to thank my co-editors, one of my mentors and personal friends, Steve Lucas, who's amazing, and he will be presenting later tonight. I also want to thank one last co-editor, he's not here, is Vasant Mohan, who's one of the other best cross-platform developers that we know. If you know Vasant, he's the founder of Fused VR. You might have seen one of his YouTube videos deconstructing any application and teaching folks how to create augmented and virtual reality. So my story, my name is Erin Pangilinan. I am the lead co-editor of this book under O'Reilly Media. I'm also a contributor. My chapter is on data and machine learning, visualization, design and development in XR. Yes, that's a mouthful. Check it out. I forget what page number it's on. I'm also the co-founder of AR/VR Academy. Shout outs to my other 2 co-founders in the audience, Suzanne Labrick and Liv Erickson. It is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to diversity and inclusion, particularly for women and underrepresented communities. In the past 2 years, I was very privileged to be a fellow in the University of San Francisco's Deep Learning program at the Data Institute at Oculus Launchpad, which is another diversity and inclusion program backed by Oculus. And as of late, I've been very much in stealth mode and not public about this, but I'm also a fellow in the Diverse Founder Program at ALI, which is housed at Verizon Ventures. So my stealth startup is focused on advancing Alzheimer's research through spatial computing and artificial intelligence. A lot of that is not on my website, so if you go there, you won't see anything. Most of my work this last year has been focused on the book. So more about my story on creating this book. I wasn't born doing augmented and virtual reality. I kind of started somewhere very different. But before I get to that, one quick note. I am not Chinese. My last name is not Pangolin. On the cover, as you see, it isn't like a low poly 3D character. It's an endangered animal, a Chinese pangolin, and I've had so many requests, more than people are really happy for a book on augmented and virtual reality. They're also excited about the pangolin, which apparently is endangered and eaten by many people. So I did not choose that cover, but I want to emphasize also another part of my identity. I'm also the 501c3 nonprofit founder of Faster Filipino Americans in STEAM. This is an application using Steve's technology for his startup, Across Realities, and I was paired with my friend Christian Kabuay, who is an expert in pre-Philippine Sanskrit. So much like Chinese and Japanese, we were teaching folks, along with NLP algorithms, how to actually preserve our language. And so this is a mobile AR app prototype that I did last year. So how I got started, as Tony mentioned, AR, VR, MR, XR, what are all the things? I had my parents who are here tonight try the Microsoft HoloLens, trying to understand anatomical 3D structures of the brain or different organs, and what is this headset and thing that is porting me to another universe. For me, I remember 3 distinct experiences that brought me into AR and VR. The first was on Google Cardboard, where I was taken into the reality of Star Wars, racing little pods. Another was in Tilt Brush, which was acquired by Google, making my name in art in 3D. And the third was with Meta, which unfortunately is, I guess, no longer with us, Glassbrain. And once that happened, I couldn't do front-end engineering and mobile development anymore. I would be too bored. I knew this was the future. So how I got started and how you can get all started, I know many of you in the audience, a lot of my personal friends here, folks from Silicon Valley, Virtual Reality, SVVR, I see John Oakes in the audience, a lot of the folks, including Steve, I met through my friend Alicia, who's at Google, from there, but it can be really daunting, coming into this space. So I'm gonna just introduce myself, coming in as a very much a person that's from a non-traditional background. When I was 8, I was learning programming, but I spent a whole career, I spent about 5 years in civic engagement, and even though my brother was teaching me how to program games, he said it was really hard, so I kind of got turned off by that, and I opted out of computer science. and bioinformatics, which were the majors my parents really wanted me to do. But I thought I was going to follow a movement. I thought I would be an IP, so an intellectual property and immigration lawyer, and I worked for Congressman Ro Khanna, who at the time was the former Deputy U.S. Secretary of Commerce. In that job, I met pretty much every venture capitalist in the Valley and every single person that backed Barack Obama, who was also backing my ex-boss. I was really focused on how to utilize technology for mass civic engagement. And so my intention there, if I reflect back on the last election, it was sort of like how you could use AI or data mining for good to do outreach for underrepresented communities, particularly the Asian American community where I'm from. So in that job, I did everything between front-end engineering, political fundraising, you name it. I ran like 5 departments and I did it. When I left that job, I actually won a big data hackathon, and so I thought I found a big data company. I turned down my intern sheet. I thought I was applying for grad school. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. At one point, I also got offered to co-found the Hillary campaign office in San Francisco for their super PAC. I turned that down mostly because I saw what I saw in augmented reality and virtual reality and artificial intelligence. And so I decided to go all in and commit myself to this new medium because I saw the potential to go beyond politics, to go beyond so many different things, to create a new possibility with this medium. I also am a very avid reader. I was a non-technical journalist for 7 years with publications like change.org. And the problem with, I think, a lot of the stuff that we talk about, we talk a lot in terms as Tony mentioned earlier, and so when I talk to my parents about what AR or MR is, like they don't understand it. And so it can be really overwhelming for new developers, new creative 3D artists entering in this space to get, sort of kind of like, how can I become an augmented reality developer? I don't even know how to get started. You have to read 50 books on SLAM if you want to be a machine learning engineer. It can be really challenging. And so I thought, when I had the opportunity, someone had pitched me on LinkedIn to write this book, I thought, well, why not, instead of reading 50, why don't we read the best from some of the best folks in the industry that are experts so that they don't have to read everything on optics, SLAM, technical 3D art optimization. And I also thought, with my knowledge, learning with other folks, how can I share this with my community? How can I open source this, not my IP for my startup, for the larger community? And in that community, I found Liv and Suzanne. We co-founded AR/VR Academy. These are some photos of us at different events. Also on our board, I'm going to give a quick shout out to Amy Lemire, who's on our board from Women in XR Fund. And I'm going to let Suzanne talk more in detail about the organization, but quickly, we founded it in 2015. We actually taught hundreds of students between classes at Cisco and here at Unity. We hosted educational meetups for many years, and it's still a network and a safe space, and there's much more coming, so I'll let Suzanne talk more about that later. And the last thing I forgot to mention is Liv Erickson wrote a Google Cardboard curriculum, which went viral, and we got so many emails just flooding our inboxes for people to start, building out curriculum, teaching Unity and C# throughout the world. We still get emails, I think, today. So for this book, people have asked me, do you cover 360-degree video? Do you cover blockchain? There's all these amazing things. I'm hoping that with our book, we can actually set the foundation for other books to come. So hopefully you'll see within, I would say, the next year, a book on WebXR by the A-Frame founders, Diego and Kevin. Hopefully it doesn't cover a lot in B2C. I think for me, coming from the sort of background that I have, I was really passionate about B2B, and a lot of O'Reilly Media's audience, if you know, is very much focused on that space. As much as I love Pokemon Go, and the person that pitched me the original book, it was from a different publisher, they said they wanted me to write a book on augmented reality, C++ on Unreal Engine, and make specific applications and tutorials on how to make Pokemon Go. No joke. And for me, I thought, I love Pokemon Go, but VR, AR, it's more than just games. And so we have a focus on that with our third section of the book, which is on use cases. I wanted it to be interdisciplinary. You're both talking to artists, like Jasmine Khan, who's in the audience at High Fidelity, who talks about 3D art optimization. We have folks from Unity on SLAM. So you have a little bit of everything. And not drowning in academic sort of dry theory, we also have really practical applications. So we have some tutorials as well. I think there's one by Dylan Shaw who talks about the VR, AR, health tech ecosystem within our space, and has a hands-on tutorial there of how he developed, I think with open source, his sorts of applications. So we're really grounded in the foundations of AR and VR, and we wanted it to be hands-on, and by no way is this the be-all, end-all book. We are very much aware that standards, particularly Chronos, are still being developed every day, and we know that within a couple of years, it may be obsolete. We will have more books coming out that are coming up to date. So this is myself, Vasant, and Mike, Steve, and when I originally had this book pitched to me, it was thought to be in a 6-month span, and just me as an individual, and I thought, that's really daunting, but that's a lot of work. And so I actually talked with Steve, and I know there's John in the audience of the song. I was like, this is kind of a lot, maybe it could just be us co-editing 200 pages, and then we decided to ask all of our friends. We literally, I think we vetted 40 to 100 people. We had to turn down a lot of folks who are not in this book, so I'm really proud of what we've created. So the book quickly, this is a teaser of the table of contents that you'll see, is broken into 3 parts. Mainly the first, as you know, with augmented and virtual reality experiences, it's all about good UX and design. So we have those sorts of principles, talking about the history of computing. So Timothy West kicks us off with an amazing intro on that. Silka, who's talking about sensory design. Steve, particularly, who's so special. He's one of the best cross-platform developers that I know in the world. And we need more folks to actually be doing that because there's so many different devices that we're targeting. So there's a whole section on technical. We also have folks who aren't in the audience today that are featured there. Matt Meisenik's 60AI is on our book with Victor Prisicaro, who's the founder of 60AI. And then part 3, other folks who aren't here, we have Mark Rowling, who used to be the former head of ESPN Innovations. He talks about sports XR. And then we have, I think, Dylan Shaw's not in the audience. He talks about health tech. And the very last person I want to recognize who was also really instrumental in this book is Ralston Murphy, who wrote a chapter on virtual reality training. He's at Stryver. And we end with Tony. Last quick shout is we do have an intro by John Maida, and so we're planning on going and touring this book on the East Coast, I think at NYU and hopefully Harvard very soon. So a way that you can support us, please buy the book. Today you're getting a special discount, and also write Amazon reviews, those matter. I think right now on Amazon, I haven't checked all our royalties, but I think we're going to be probably in the top 50, and we've only been out for about 2 months. I think we're in the top couple hundred as of now. I think even ranked higher than Tony's book, but that's not because Tony isn't amazing, it's because we have an all-starting cast, including Tony, and so I'm just, feel so privileged to have his support and the support of many of the contributors that are here tonight. Please like us on social media. If you need us or want us to talk at your startups, I'm probably getting inundated with so many requests I can't keep up with. But if you are interested, please email creatingarvr@gmail.com. In the summer, I hope to go to the Philippines, hopefully with Accenture, and do an Asia tour. In the fall, we're hoping to have other events, probably at Facebook with Clorama Dervillas, who's one of the developer advocates of VRTK, the Virtual Reality Toolkit, and also hopefully at High Fidelity. So I'll be tapping Jasmine and Tipitat. Oh, I forgot, Tipitat also is in this book, who's an amazing 3D artist and venture capitalist. Sorry, he came late today, so I was like, wait, I know I'm missing someone. There's so many amazing contributors. We expect all the events to sell out, so I know not everyone who's here or wanted to be here tonight could be, so just look out for everything on social media. With that being said, I want to bring to the stage one of the people who I admire so much. She actually spoke at the very first AR/VR Academy meetup that we had many years ago at Adaptive Insights, and I was so amazed by her. Everyone, has her speaking about design, and really, she's one of the leading folks in this industry that has a unique lens. She's an amazing artist and designer. Timothy West.
Thank you, Erin. I want to say for the record, Erin is one of the most patient and kind people I know, because every single one of us was like 2 months late with our chapter at minimum. And she still likes us, so thank you, Erin. I appreciate all your parents, you're amazing. Okay, so I'm just going to do a very quick overview of what I talk about in my chapter, how humans interact with computers. And like Erin mentioned, I start off with a history of computer hardware, because I think it's important to reflect on